Hi there, Janet Fritz here for Galaxy Girl Creations and the October Stretch the Sketch, and I am using this sketch, and I cannot tell you where it's from because I can't read it down in the bottom corner. If your eyes are better than mine, maybe you can read it, but it says designed by somebody, and I've even blown it up, but it gets really pixelated, so I can't really tell you. But I'm going to pop it up there in the corner so you can kind of follow along with what I'm doing, and I am stretching this into a double page layout, and I am going to be using some photos from a recent trip that we did to the tide pools with my daughter, her husband, and my grandson. And I started with some polka dotted paper from Chamel. It's from one of her really old collections. And then I'm kind of trying to figure out how wide that horizontal banner piece is in the sketch. That's right above all of the little flags that are hanging down. And then I've got a variety of photos. I end up with 7 photos on this layout. At the end, I am going to switch out one of the photos and add another one. So currently it looks like 6, but there will be 7 on this particular layout. And I think that's a pretty good amount for a double pager. You still have quite a bit of room for embellishing, but you definitely have a lot of room for photos. Actually, the 2 photos, there's a portrait photo that is a 4x6 and a horizontal or landscape one of my grandson looking up. Those are both 4x6. The others are going to be 3x4, and a couple of them are, actually only one of them is in landscape, the rest are all in portrait. So I am also going to back all of the photos with white cardstock and then black cardstock, and I'm just using a very, very thin mat on them so it doesn't make the photos a whole bunch bigger than they currently are. I decided to go ahead and use some walnut stain distress ink. I think I'm using walnut. Let's see here. Yeah, it definitely is walnut. And I had a hard time cutting into this cloud paper because I really love the cloud side of it, but the blue was just the right shade of blue for the sky in these photos. So instead of using 2 pieces, I actually was going to use that as my background, but I didn't want to cut into 2 pieces of the cloud photo. I kind of wanted to save them, and especially since these are papers from Chamel, and I know I'm probably not going to be able to find many of them, you know, down the road because she's not designing anymore, and so, or at least not for American Crafts at this point in time. So I'm kind of hoarding that one. The green chevron there is from Go Now Go, and that's one of her other collections. Actually, all of these papers are from her collections. The red one is from, I think it's from Field Trip. So it's either Field Trip or Never Grow Up. It might be Never Grow Up, but it's one of her two of the most current ones. And I really do love mixing up her collections with each other because they all kind of go together. So if you're having a hard time figuring out, you know, papers that go together, check out hers. They all go together. So sorry for my head in the shot there, trying to get over the layout so I can get things lined up. And if you watch my videos, you know I do like things lined up most of the time. There are some occasions where I kind of go a little off kilter with my photos or my papers, but in this particular sketch I wanted them to be nice and straight, so especially from page to page. And I use a D-ring album, so well, actually these are going to go on my grandson's album, which is actually a post-bound album that I have modified with some straps that you can buy on Amazon or wherever. They're called Pioneer Easy Load or something like that. But it kind of looks like a zip tie, and it allows you to extend your albums a little bit further than a postbound, and you don't have to deal with the stupid little postbound things, getting them lined up with all of those page protectors and then getting them screwed back together. So that's something that I've recently started doing with his albums and just a couple other albums that I already had. But my family albums are in D-ring, so there is a gap in between the layouts, but in the post bound they are lined up next to each other, so that kind of makes it more important to keep it lined up together because they are going to be kind of flush to each other. Now I'm using these 4.5 by 6.5 inch pieces of paper. These come in a stack of photo mats from Hobby Lobby, and they are just the Paper Studio brand. So if you have a Hobby Lobby near you, you can find those on go on the week that they have the Paper Studio stuff on sale, and they will be pretty cheap. I think they're like $5 or $6 for a whole stack, but it saves you cutting into your large cardstock, and then you don't have as much waste of white and black cardstock if you tend to use that a lot for your matting. I got that tip from Christina Sorge, and it has been amazing. I just have these 2 stacks in a little drawer right in front of me, and I just pull them out when I need them, and it works so well. Of course, you could use colored cardstock or whatever to mat your photos, but because I have black and white polka dots, that's what I'm using. And to be honest with you, I use black and white most of the time, either black or white, not always both, but sometimes both. I hope that made a little bit of sense. So now I am pulling out some pieces of paper out of my little scrap bin of Chamel products, and I have these little dies. These are I couldn't even tell you where they're from at this point. I've had these for years, and I'm just going to run them through my Sidekick, and I'm creating the little flags at the bottom of the pictures in the sketch. And I am not really keeping track of like how many I'm making, but I'm making enough so that there are not 2 of the same color next to each other or 2 of the same shape right next to each other. I think I do end up with 2 of the fishtail ones next to each other, but they're on opposite pages, so it doesn't really it kind of tricks your eye that they're not really the same because they're on 2 separate pages. But I tend to buy a lot of little dies for my Sidekick because they work so well. They're easy. You can just keep them. I have mine stored in a little die binder, and I just pull that out when I want to and run it through my Sidekick. But it gives you a lot of embellishments that you can use. So you can use papers from the same collections or different collections, whatever you want. And if you invest in these like general shapes, so like these little flags, I've got some labels, I've got some tab tops, I've got like foliage, so I try to keep those all handy because those are things that I can use on every single layout if I wanted to. I don't use them on every single layout, but I do use them quite frequently. It just adds a little bit of color. You can bring colors into multiple areas without trying to find embellishments that all match or have those particular same colors in them to provide continuity across your embellishment clusters. So it's just a really good, quick, easy way to have that cohesiveness in your layout. So while I finish going ahead and punching those things out, and you can see that here I have the tabs. Those are actually from Bo Bunny. I do know that because their dies tend to be pink, but and I am using those to bring more of those same colors that are in the banner down below into some of my embellishment areas. But as I do that, let me just tell you a little bit about Stretch to Sketch. There are a whole bunch of us playing along this month, and it is something we do every month. The 3rd Sunday of the month, we take a 12 by 12 sketch and we either stretch it to be something larger or we shrink it to be something smaller than a 12 by 12. The only rule is you can't use a 12 by 12. So you might see cards, you might see 6 by 8 layouts, 12 by 6, traveler's notebooks, double pages, or more than double page, or 18 by 12. The options are endless. Whatever format you like to work in, we are stretching it in varying formats depending on whose video you are watching. This month I am doing a 12 by 24, but I have gone as small as a card in the past, and so hopefully you find a lot of inspiration and a lot of ways to use your sketches and to make them suit your purposes. And interestingly enough, in the last couple months, several of us have done double page layouts, but none of them look the same. So it's really kind of fun to watch and see how everybody changes it up for their needs, and how everybody's brain works just a little bit differently to kind of stretch that sketch and make it their own. So hopefully we provide you a lot of inspiration. That is our goal. And you can find all of the other ladies that are playing along down below in my description box. The links will be there, so you can go and check them out as well. And really hope you enjoy this series. We have been doing it for more than 2 years now, and actually we are probably at the 2.5-year mark. So there is a lot of inspiration if you go back and watch Stretch the Sketch videos. I think I have a playlist on my channel for mine. Yeah, actually I do have a playlist, but I'm sure several of the other ladies have playlists as well. And we don't have all of the same people every month playing along, so you get a lot of different kind of takes and a lot of different inspiration as people do things differently. Now, I am the kind of person, I like different size pages in my 12 by 12 albums. So you might go, well, if you have 12 by 12 album, why would you make something that's like a 6 by 12 or a 9 by 12 or a 6 by 8 or whatever? But I think personally that when you flip the page and it's a different size, it's kind of like a little aha moment for the viewer or the reader, and they go, oh wow, this is a different kind of layout, and it just provides additional interest and kind of like zazzes up your album just a tiny bit. I feel like then people want to keep flipping pages in my album and go, wow, that's something unexpected. I wonder what else is unexpected in this album. So I'm just throwing that out there for you. It's not something you have to do. It's just the reason that I do it. So hopefully maybe you try different sizes as well, or if you like sticking with the sketch, that's totally fine. And most of the time I stick pretty close to the sketch, but you know, even when I do a 12 by 12 layout, I stick pretty close, but then every once in a while I go really like off, I don't want to say off topic, but I really try to kind of change things up, and that's always a lot of fun as well. Now you just saw me cutting into some green fun foam. That's the cheap stuff from Walmart. It is adhesive backed on one side. The other side is just the foamy part, and I like to stick the adhesive backed portion to the embellishment and then use a little bit of wet glue. I like Nouveau Deluxe adhesive. I use that to glue the embellishment down to my layout. I find that if I use my tape runner, it does peel off the foam fairly easily, and sometimes the embellishments come off, so that is why I use the liquid glue. I didn't make you sit through watching me put that adhesive onto the back of all of those little flags. I think you can kind of figure that out on your own. It's pretty simple, but it does add a lot of dimension and a lot of interest and height to your layout. Although your layout is still somewhat flat. So when I say height, it gives dimension, but it's not like you're adding a big puffy floral where it's going to take up 1.5 inches in your layout or in your album. These wood alphas they've got like this gold around them are like my absolute favorite Chamel alpha ever, and so I have a couple packs of those, and that's what I'm going to be using for the most part today. I am going to have some letters added to those flags, and it is going to say @Greyhound, and then I am going to add some little blue thickers below that say rock, because that is where we were. So my title is technically Tide Pools and Explore at Greyhound Rock, which I know is not proper English, but you know, it works. So, and you can read it however you like. So the Explorer is on the photo. You could read that as though it's not part of the title. Maybe my title is actually Tide Pools at Greyhound Rock. Anyway, it all works together, and I really like how this turns out. Now I know I have a big block of space up at the top on that right hand side, and I'm thinking I'm going to put my journaling in that spot when I start, but then I realize I also have a space on the opposite side, so this is why I'm moving some photos around. And it kind of seems funny. I'm peeling stuff off the page, but the photo that I peeled off of the left-hand page, I had that same photo in a landscape orientation. So that is what I'm adding to this upper right-hand page. And then I also had another portrait photo that I could include on the right hand page. And so the reason that I swapped which one was on the right versus the left is because the photo in the upper right hand corner, they are facing towards the left, and so I'd rather have them looking in towards the layout, the center of the layout, rather than off of the page. And in the one that is in the bottom left-hand corner, I moved that down there because that one could actually go either way. My daughter's facing one way, my grandson is facing the other, and my son-in-law is kind of like almost straight on. So I could put that on either page. So since it works better to have the one in the upper right-hand corner, I was able to just move the other one down to the lower left-hand corner. And so that took care of putting something in the upper left-hand corner of the right-hand page. That's a lot of left and rights I just said, but hopefully you followed along with that. As I add these enamel dots, I realize that I don't have any more video. I don't know what happened, but I'm going to cover it live. Okay, so I realized that I lost video and I didn't have anything to show you the finishing touches on the layout, which is these little embellishment areas and this journaling area. So I wanted to kind of walk you through it. I just went through my embellishments from Chamel. I pulled out this Shake Up Your Routine and this little floral cluster. And the reason that I pulled in the flowers, which are not any flowers on this layout, but the red matches the red in his jacket, my daughter's shirt or sweater, but the blue in the bucket matches this banner. And so it brings the colors to both sides, and so I really like that. And then I brought in these little pink and red flowers to bring it across, and I brought those pink and red flowers up here. And then this little blue wood grain also brought in the same colors up here to make this triangle. And I kind of offset these, one's higher and one's lower. If I put them, they're like bookends, but if I put them directly across from each other, it feels too matchy-matchy, but by offsetting them, it creates a little bit of a different triangle than if they're straight across. And I'm horrible with geometry, so I can't even tell you which one's an isosceles or whatever. But so I don't know, it just gives your eye a little bit more of a natural flow than being perfectly straight. And then I added, I think the embellishment clusters or the enamel dots were already down here, but I added the enamel dots in these areas. 3 little enamel dots, and then up here as well. And this is my little journaling spot. This was cut out of one of Chamel's journaling pads, and it just says, today we all got up early to go to the tide pools. We met at Greyhound Rock. For the first time, we walked all the way down to the beach to explore, and Papa flew the drone out too, which my grandson is really obsessed with the drone. And that was one reason I was really glad to be able to get this photo on here, because the drone is really tiny, but it's right there, and he's right here looking at it. So I thought that was kind of perfect. And it's interesting, I've lived here my entire life. I've been over to this Greyhound Rock overlook. I can't even tell you how many times, but we've never actually walked all the way down to the beach. It is quite a walk because it's all downhill or all uphill, depending on which way you're going. But, you know, that's probably why we've never done it, is because we usually just stop there to like grab a few photos, meet up with people, maybe go to the bathroom, whatever. It's usually kind of like a pit stop on the way to something else. It's not usually the main center of attraction. So it was kind of cool to go down all the way to the bottom. And in this photo, you can see he's standing on a bunch of the mussels. There's sea urchins. And that was a lot of fun. So my final thing was I added some gold Heidi Swap color shine in the 3 areas, like here, here, and here. And mostly around these dark blues. I didn't add any up here because this has a gold outline around it, and so I didn't feel like it really needed it. And that's pretty much going to do it. So go check out everybody else who's playing along, and I will see you next time. Here come the close-ups. Bye.